Hi, welcome to the channel today. We're going to be doing a walking tour of the container garden, and also this is the tomato starts that I started I think 3 weeks ago. The good thing whenever you get to this size is the roots are starting to come. You can see some little white roots down up in here. You can actually just water from the bottom. Just pour the water in here, and the advantage of watering from the bottom like this, and you have to make sure it goes all the way to the sides and everything gets watered. But the biggest advantage is you don't get the leaves wet. And that's going to be kind of a long-term problem you have with tomatoes. You want to keep the leaves dry as you can. These are the regular tomatoes here. Here is your dwarf tomatoes. So notice it is a different height growing as far as you wouldn't want these right up against these because they would shade them out. And same thing with these. Tomorrow I'm going to be planting these out, but I did leave, I left a space in there because I didn't want them right out beside them because you don't want the lettuce shading them. So that's kind of what you got to watch out for when you got these big trays. I really like these big trays, but that is one of the problems. They are growing really quickly. There's a Hasnell, the Lucky Cross. If I can find, there was one, the Carolina Dusk. I think they're a dwarf tomato. I'm not sure. They just did not grow. I do have them sitting outside. This is the first day I've had them sitting outside, and I've been putting them on for about an hour. I've got set on my phone, so if the phone goes off, that's what it's going to be. Because you don't want to set them out too long. I did set them out in the shade the first time. It's just the wind and everything else also hurts them. That's part of the hardening off process. I will probably increase it an hour a day, hopefully. And then one day I'll leave them out overnight before I actually put them outside. And hopefully I can find a day to put them outside where it's a cloudy day that the wind's not blowing whenever you actually plant them out. Now they're coming along faster than what I anticipated. It might be because that ocean forest potting mix has a lot more nutrients to it. But they really look good. I've not put any other fertilizer on it but what was in that potting mix originally, so that it's helped me from having to put out anything, and there's not any stunning that I can see that I'd want to change it. There is some of these, like this one right here. I got 2 of them, so I'm gonna have to make a decision and cut one of them out. But they're all looking nice. I didn't get a real good germination on some of them. Well, I got another one for those. So don't really know why. And it could be like over here, you're seeing one that's got one here. Well, no, that's insane. Sometimes when you water them, they'll wash out. Like there's 2 here. I might have had one here that washed over here. Well, no, see, I got one here. So maybe, and those, might not you got a good germination. Sometimes you don't. But I do think the seeds were good. But anyway, next thing is we had all that cold weather, and this here's dead. No, I have to cut this out. But they did bloom again. The 15 degrees or whatever, 13 degrees killed them off. It did bloom out again. I do need to do some pruning because like this limb here needs to come off. Don't want to have any crossing limbs. You want this to be open. Again, you're trying to keep the moisture off these leaves as much as you can, so you want them to dry up as soon as it warms up during the day. If you have this whole thing, a big mass of leaves growing and the wind can't get through it, it's going to stay moist longer. And what makes the fungus and stuff grows, bacteria grows, is having that leaf wet for like 14, 15 hours. So you're going to have a dew every morning about 10 o'clock. So you don't want to stretch that, time frame more than a couple hours after the sun comes up. So that's looking nice. It's a ponca. I do need to trim it some too. Now some of the this is what everything ended up looking like. I did get a couple of the broccoli came on back. It's looking okay. That purple broccoli over there's growing. I think this is the Asper brock, and I'm not sure how to do it before it gets too growthy, but this does need to be redone. I am going to take some of the lettuces growing over there, put them in here, and clean this up. That'll probably be done tomorrow. And then over here, we've got the loquat tree. I believe this is Jehula. Since I put it in the garage, we've got fruit that survived. These others blooms I think are going to go ahead and produce fruit also. That's why I like to put them out here, because I don't think any of the fruit's going to survive, unless they bloom later. And even then, I'm not sure on the trees that was in the ground. I haven't mentioned this much. This is cherry of the Rio Grande. It's the cherry of the Rio Grande. It sat right here, did not move, didn't move it at all. It still survived. They got a little bit of damage here, so it's, it is a true Werner hardy, tree you would think would be more, have less winter. Get out of there. Oh. That needs to be watered real bad. That's the tomato that did survive and needs to be watered. These are the citrus that I grew last fall. Put them in pots. Going to get them growing good. The pineapple guava that I just set inside. Everything is kind of surviving well and doing okay. We do have, I guess I come over here, the rosemary's done fine. It's starting to grow again. And then here I've got well, that one didn't move off, which is a sign that it doesn't have enough water in it. I said it there. So this is a loquat plants. Again, you pick them up, feel, see if they need to be watered. And that one's really light, so we're gonna sit. I do have in here these 4 tubs. They drilled holes in them. This water has filled up from the rains we get. If you have a tub out here, they tend to fill up just from the water that we get. I mean, this here, I didn't fill this bucket up with water. It just gets so much rain that it fills up to the top. That don't happen in West Texas, but it does happen around here. Because I didn't know when I first moved out here and I was working in West Texas, and I came out here and we had one of those little kiddie pools that I set outside, and it rained and got some water in it. I said, well, whenever it dries up, I will put it back in the garage, because it's the fall of the year. After about a month and a half, the water's flowing over the top, and I realized I was no longer in West Texas. But here is the lychee tree, and you're seeing a little bit of damage on it, just from being inside, a little bit of stress, but nothing, it should be fine. Again, all these are doing okay. Pineapples are doing good. The Okinawa spinach survived, so I got it growing. Here's another one of the nectarine tree, and this is the smooth S1. It blooms, it makes quicker. Nectarine trees don't do well out here because it just gets a lot of bugs and gets a lot of the brown rot on them, but we are trying them out. I also have the, that needs to be watered. We did get up to 80 degrees last couple of days, so I'm going to have to start watering stuff tomorrow. Just another thing to do on this. This time of year is really tough because there's so much to do and so little time to do it. We're still not getting that extra hour in the afternoons. And then we got, I take my boys to 4-H shooting sports in the morning. We don't get back till lunch, so that kills the Saturday morning. And you start running out of time to do things you need to do. Now these onions here are looking really nice, and they also need to be watered. So they're looking good. And the ones out in the other garden, I'll probably do one tomorrow. It's not looking as good. Onions this year just have not done well. And it was funny because mine hadn't done well. And sometimes when you see that, I was watching 2 other channels, and both of them in Georgia, and their onions aren't doing well either. And they're all trying to figure out why. And I think it's a combination of things. I think number one, it was hot for a long time in the fall, and then we started getting cold weather. And then we started getting a lot of cloudy weather. I know my ryegrass is not growing well this year, and that's everybody's ryegrass, because I plant ryegrass for the horse, and it just didn't grow. I mean, we would get some sunny day or whatever, but it did stay colder at night than normal. We got a lot of freezing weather, 30 degree weather we normally don't get. So we were colder than we normally get, and the stuff just didn't grow well. And if you push it too far into the winter, there's a time period that we just don't get the sunlight, and things don't grow as well. And that's going to be, last year kind of happened also. As one guy said, he had years where he's had good onion production, doing really well. Last year didn't do well, so well, that's my off year, and this year happened again. When you see a large range of people, not doing well, it's probably not your fault. It's something just environmental that just didn't go your way. And that's kind of what's happened with the onions. That's what's happened with the ryegrass. Even this past year, we didn't have good rice around here. And it was all the farmers didn't have good rice. And they even went into Louisiana, they didn't have good rice. So the farmers all get together and start talking about that because they want to know, did they do something wrong, or is it just a bad year? If it's just a bad year, you can't really judge yourself too hard because everyone had problems. And that's kind of what's happened here, I think. So you don't want to start changing stuff just because you had a bad year. It just may be a bad year. I know in gardening sometimes we think we're going to be perfect every year. Some years you just have crop losses, and that's just what happens. It's part of gardening. So don't beat yourself up too much on it. Unless it happens several years in a row, then it might be your fault. But do try to find out if other people's had success in your area and you didn't have success, then you may want to change your practices. But if everyone's doing bad, like a couple years ago in Central Texas, it hit 100 degrees, I think, in May, and it kept hitting 100 degrees. And no one was making tomatoes. Everyone was kind of, they wanted to walk people off the ledge because they were all freaking out, thinking they didn't know how to grow tomatoes anymore. It's just a bad year. It's just a bad year, and some years you're going to have like that. Coming on over here, this is a Jiu-Jitsu lemonade tree. It's really been a workhorse for me. The one in the ground, and it's got really good winter resistance and stuff, so I really like it for that. This is the pomelo, the Chandler, and it's got some blooms on it. So we're going to have to watch it really close. It's also throwing a lot of blooms out. And I mean, it's big enough. I'll let it make one or two. I would not make it more than 3. At least I shouldn't, because it's going to be too much for that tree. You got to look at that tree and think, okay, if I get a pomelo that's up softball size, can that tree support it? Would it be big enough to support it? So if I get 5 or 6 sitting on this thing, I'm going to cut some of them off just because you don't want to get too much fruit and break your tree. And that can happen. That did happen on another tree I had. These trees think winter's over. I mean, they're starting to put out some growth. We're getting 80 degrees. And I will caution you sometimes in a long range forecast, because last week this time, in the middle of this week, all the big pundits were talking about, oh, we're getting a big freeze, it's going to come down here, this is going to be another big... Sorry about that. That's the deal for my tomatoes. Do set alarms for you, because you will forget, and you don't want to burn up your tomato plants. And I've got to the age I will forget, I have to set alarms. But they always talking about how we get this polar vortex, and come down here, we get another cold spell, might be worse than what the last one we had. They're backing off on it now. It might hit, Dallas. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna hit Dallas, but for us, they're now showing upper 30s, which that's normal for this time of year. So that's no big deal. It is awful tempting to want to plant your tomatoes now, because we're having, you wake up at 6 degrees in the morning, 8 degrees in the afternoon thinking, and you look at the long range forecast, but that long range forecast does say, next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, it's supposed to be down to 38. So that's a little concerning. That's why I didn't start my tomatoes any earlier, because I would be tempted to go out and plant them. So I am going to wait another week, and if that next week still shows to be clear weather, I will put them out. And then if we do get some cold snaps, I will deal with it by putting out some type of covers on them. But at least part of them I'm going to put out. So it's getting really close to planting time, getting close to potato planting time. I may wait till President's Day to plant the potatoes and the tomatoes. We'll see. I do got some stuff I'm supposed to do, so I may have to switch it around. We're just going to go somewhere next on President's Day, but I may move that to Sunday, just to, because Sunday's not supposed to be that great of a day. So we're talking about going and visiting somebody. On over here, you got the other herbs and stuff, and this is the Okinawa spinach that's left outside. It should be okay. It should come, when you look back here, it'll start throwing up little sprouts, but that's not going to happen for a long time. It's going to have to get good and warm for that to happen. Now, about winter or about chill hours and stuff, the other peach tree was fully bloomed out, already leaves coming off. This one has a higher chill hour, so it's not as apt to go up there and start having, start producing. So, it's just sitting there, and that's kind of a good thing if we get any late freezes. But that's the good thing about having higher chill hours, is they don't break dormancy near as quickly. We're even looking over here. This is higher. This is, we know this is a good tree. It is starting to swell on the buds, but it's not putting out any actual blooms yet. So it's a higher chill hour, so it's still thinking that winter may not be over. So it's not pushing out as much. Same thing with this tree. You know, it's just now starting to. By next week, it will have them all pushed out. But you're seeing kind of the differences in trees. If you go really low chill hours, you know, just remember you get this. Here it is, we're February 8th, and bloomed out. These are the rest of the blooms that they have on the tree. It's starting to leave out. If we get like a snowmageddon, it can kill these trees if they're left outside, even if they're in ground. And how do I know that? Because this little tree right here is the same one as that one. We left it out, and it just wasn't able to handle it. Also, I mean, it killed it way back, and then it sprouted way back to the bottom. I think these trees got so many roots that it outcompetes this little tree, so it just can't survive. We do have the blueberry, and it's starting to put out some more little blooms on it. And the other blueberry, I didn't show it, it's starting to bloom out some more too. It put out a bunch of blooms, put on some fruit. It's still got enough buds in it. It's going to put out more blooms also. Not probably as many as it would have, but if your tree blooms early, your blueberry bush blooms early, I'm going to say it because blueberries will do this. They bloom out early and you lose them. They will sometimes have enough buds to continue to bloom it out later. Peach trees aren't that way. Once a peach tree blooms out, it's done for the year. You know, if you get if one's fully bloomed out, now sometimes they'll bloom out over, you know, a month or so. But once all those blooms are broken up, it doesn't put new blooms on, where I think blueberries kind of do. This tree here's the pomegranate. It's just sitting there waiting. And these are the other blueberries. Now, this one here is the pink lemonade. It does not produce as much fruit. It used to be taller than this, and some of it died. You know, they do that, and then so it's kind of sprawled out some. But these are the leaf clusters here. And this one over here is the Sweet Crisp. And it's putting out a lot of leaves. Also got some blooms on it. This is probably the best tasting of the blueberries. And it is a southern high bush. Like the other one, this is Snow Chaser. It's starting to also bloom out. Another of the Sweet Crisp. And like I say, it doesn't have a whole lot of blooms on it, but still it's enough. And the less fruit they put on, usually the sweeter the fruit is. So, you know, do I ever prune them back? No. As far as fruit pruning, I am going to do that on the peaches because that does make a big difference, because you either get a choice of having a bunch of them this size or some this size. And also, if you have a bunch of peaches and they're growing close together, they'll rub, and they'll also cause a wet spot there, and that's where your brown rot can start. This here is O'Neill, and it's starting to bloom out. And it's a funny one because it will bloom out, it'll put fruit on it before it ever puts leaves on. You know, all these others are starting to put leaves on first, and this one doesn't. And I've actually had times they would almost be ripening before they actually put very many leaves out. So I don't think that's a good thing, but it's just one of the things that I noticed about it that's different than some of the other ones. Again, I don't prune these up. I will take out the dead branches, and that's about it. Probably should to open it up, to aerate it out, but I really don't like pruning any more than I have to. I have started pruning some of the orchard trees. They really need it really bad. Let's go look over here at the fig trees. And some of these are going to be interesting because we got all that cold weather. I left them out here in it. So some of these might not survive. You know, I hope they do. We're just going to have to find out and see. And I think these in the bigger pots will be okay. I sure hope so. This one, I'm gonna try to put most of these in the ground, if not all of them in the ground. This is the loquat that got the fire blight on it, and it finished dying. I meant to cut it down. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can take that off anyway. I was gonna make sure it didn't have any type of metal in it, so I can take a chainsaw, cut it down, and take it out. It's just the fire blight took it out. It's the same fire blight that takes out pear trees, and basically it looked like something just blasted them, kind of like this leaf here. Just blasted them. Looks like something took a torch and hit them. That's why they call it fire blight. But it chose to kill this one, and that one over there is fine. I will try to cut this one down and get it out, and hopefully it doesn't spread or whatever. And there's my 2 roses. I was not impressed with these roses as far as the roots on them, but they are still growing, so we're going to find out. I do want to get 1 or 2 more roses and see how they also do, but I haven't made up my mind. I was going to go today, but I am a federal worker, so we got really tired this last week of trying to figure out what in the world was going on and what we were going to do. So I'm retiring next year, so I thought about retiring this year. I just can't take the hit, but and that'll be nice, because that way I have time to spend out here, and I hope I never be that time. Well, gee, you got time, you can do this, because once you retire, you've got a lot of time to piddle, and that's what I look forward to. And I know sometimes people worry about staying busy when they're retired, and like my dad said, he worked for 6 years. I mean, he worked for all this time with working, and when he retired, he smiled for 6 months just because he didn't have to go to work every day. But anyway, and some people don't. If you got something to retire to, it's great. This here is the green Ishua, and it's starting to put out some. It'd be a good time if you wanted to make cuttings, to take the cutting and to root sprout them, to put them in before they break dormancy. But you know, it's going to start. You know, everything's going to start busting out pretty quick now. We've got 80-degree temperatures. But anyway, one last thing. I guess I haven't really talked about this one here. This is the other one, and that definitely needs to be taken off. I just haven't got around to doing it. This is Tropic Beauty. It lost a lot of the blooms on it, so there's not going to be a whole lot of blooms on it, but there is going to be a few. So hopefully I get enough that it'll make. The only good thing about when they do that, you can spray it, you can look at it better, and the fruit will be sweeter and they'll be bigger on the tree, so they haven't overproduced. But you know, I made the choice of not bringing these inside because everything else I had, so I'm going to try to cut back on the fruits that I had to put in the garage so I can save some of this stuff. That's why I grew these in pots, so I can bring them inside. This is the other loquat that was left outside. Like I say, these here I think are all going to fall off. We'll see. I'm not going to knock them off just to make sure, but just got too cold, too late in the year, and that's just going to be if you're growing loquats in 9A. You know, I think you're going to make fruit every 3rd year. Kind of West Texas makes apricots. You can't depend on apricots every year. I don't think you're ever dependent upon loquats, just because, you know, if we get temperatures down in the low 20s, it's going to kill all the fruit. So not going to kill the trees. The trees went through it just fine, no problem. They're healthy, but as far as making a crop, it's going to be a little bit difficult unless you put them in a pot and bring them in and out. But anyway, before I ramble on too much, thanks for watching all the way through. I'll see you next time.